Hey guys, I'm Dov, and today I'm back with more Total War Warhammer 2 online action. This time we're back with Orion and his Wood Elves going to be taking on the Skaven. So let's get to the army composition here. Orion, of course, a very powerful missile melee hybrid monster, unbreakable, yada yada yada. He's got Horn of the Wild Hunt, Hounds of Orion, and Hawk's Talon. Of course, with his anti-large and his massive missile damage, he is a pretty powerful combatant. He's got some more dancers with Azrai Spear. Looks like a tree man. Pretty good choice against the Skaven to provide another kind of big, monstrous terror anchor. He's got magic attacks, so he can deal with the physical resistance units very well. Granted, that 500 weapon strength will just crush most Skaven, no problem. He also has expert charge defense, which is kind of interesting. He's got a couple Deepwood Scouts. Nope, just the one Deepwood Scouts with Swift Shiver Shards. He's got some Hagbane tips as well. Looks like a front line of 2 Sword Dancers with Eternal Guards with shields on the flanks. Spellslinger Lore of Life. We've got a couple Wild Riders with shields. I think that's pretty much it for the Wood Elves. For the Skaven, got some Storm Vermin over here, a couple units of Warp Lightning Cannons, Rat Ogres, more Rat Ogres, very strong line of Plague Monks here, so this is a pretty elite infantry army for the Skaven, which is not something you see super often. I say elite, I mean Plague Monks are kind of a mid-tier infantry, I guess, but it's still pretty solid in this matchup, as long as they don't get shot up too much. Storm Vermin with Halberds, we've got Assassin, looks like a Gracier Lore of Ruin. If we have a look at his spell selection, he's got, let's see, Warp Lightning and Howling Warp Gale, so just a fairly simple spell selection there. He is also on the Bell, which gives that nice area of effect, leadership, and melee attack buff. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So let's get the battle into full gear. Glacial Lake, one of those maps that you start out right in each other's faces. And yeah, the Wild Rider's going to come and try and draw out the Rat Ogres here. If Orion were to have popped that Horn of the Wild Hunt and these Wild Riders would have just charged the Rat Ogres right there, they could have easily killed them. I mean, they have a huge charge bonus already. With that Horn of the Wild Hunt, it would have been even higher. And yeah, with the extra, you know, speed and everything, they could hit those Rat Ogres, just take them out super fast, and then back away. But the High Elf player, Wood Elf player, choosing not to engage there, and instead using his missiles a bit there to kind of pepper them. You can see the Skaven Slaves doing a great job at bogging down the Wood Elf front line. I'm going to make that mistake a couple times probably, but really nice Warp Lightning there. And the cannon also going down. Looks like Orion's going to be dropping the Hawk's Talon in retaliation there. And through the center, the War Dancers are doing quite well, although now they're getting wrapped up on Plague Monks, which is actually a relatively even trade, but the Wild Riders also pushing through, landing a brutal charge. I say brutal charge, it actually wasn't mega effective, but yeah, the Rat Ogre is a little bit of an issue that they're still kind of hanging around on that flank, but these other Wild Riders fortunately did get tangled up, it looks like, on some Storm Vermin, going to be pulling away there, probably coming to drop a rear charge or try and finish off those Rat Ogres there. But yeah, the Wood Elf front line was relatively light, and it is getting worn through. You can see the Eternal Guards, the War Dancers, all getting relatively low. Orion's still pretty healthy, as is the Tree Man here, but he is fighting Storm Vermin, who will be able to do some damage over time and just gets blasted by a Warp Lightning Cannon there. Looks like the Warp Lightning also going after the Skirmishers in the back, so these Wood Elf, oh man, a brutal kind of side shot there, cutting through several unit models. That Warp Lightning Cannon being online is a big problem. The Wild Riders need to try and push around and get there, but unfortunately they've been used kind of in this front line situation, and one gets routed off here, and I think the other one has already been routed off, so the Warp Lightning Cannons at this point, yeah, looks like they're routed off here, so yeah, the Warp Lightning Cannon is totally secure at this point, able to just fire in with impunity, which is a big problem for the Wood Elves at this point. You can see the balance of power starting to shift here, so yeah, I definitely think not really pressing that Rat Ogre right at the beginning, I think, was a mistake. If he had popped that Horn of the Wild Hunt and immediately just tried to take down that unit of Rat Ogres, he could have potentially tried to force a mobility advantage and try and get around and shut down these Warp Lightning Cannons earlier on in the battle. But that being said, we do have some rallying Wild Riders here, some more Wood Elf infantry rallying as well. The Tree Man's still relatively healthy. Orion is still relatively healthy as well, and with the Cloak of Isha especially, he'll be very tough to kill for the Skaven. So yeah, we'll soak up some cinematics of him just skewering a Rat Ogre there. Very cool stuff. And also dropping that Hounds of Orion in this big blob. You know, since Orion's a big single entity target, he kind of forces this nice blob here where then the Hounds of Orion can come in. pretty effective at cutting up some of those Skaven infantry. So yeah, Orion up to 79 kills so far. A nice heal being dropped there, hitting, you know, Orion, the Tree Man, and all these units. Fortunately, the Spellsinger did take quite a bit of damage. Looks like she's got Earthblood and Dwellers below. The regrouping skirmishers trying to finish off those Rat Ogres here, but looks like they are going to be getting around, and lots of Plague Monks still in this kind of center area here. They definitely need to press their advantage and try and finish off those Eternal Guards there. But Tree Man holding out quite well, considering he's been fighting Halberd infantry this whole time. And Orion in the back line going to try and use his missiles a bit here, it looks like, to see off those Rat Ogres, but the Assassin comes in, promptly gets terrified away. Assassin's been able to do a lot of damage to Orion, but that Trophy Head's pretty good debuff, puts Orion down to 0 melee defense, so he'll just take damage from almost every hit. Of course, they still have to roll to hit, but still. But yeah, the Cloak of Isha protecting Orion at this point in this kind of late game situation. It looks like it did go off there, as he did get slightly above its cap, but once he takes a bit of damage, it'll reactivate, heal him a bit, and give him that damage resistance. And yeah, it's looking pretty desperate though. The bounce power very heavily in the Skaven's favor at this point, despite how low they are on infantry. You know, they still got these Warp Lightning Cannons with quite a bit of ammo left. Storm Vermin with Halberds are getting peppered a bit here, and Elves can be pretty, the Wood Elves especially, can be pretty dangerous in this kind of a late game kite situation. So definitely not out of the woods yet, but it's not looking great. Hounds of Orion going down on these Storm Vermin, and they're going to start to pull back here as they're just kind of in a bad situation. These Wild Riders tried to push through to get on the Warp Lightning Cannons, but unfortunately just get routed off there. The Warp Lightning Cannons, meanwhile, still online, still able to fire here, so that's a big problem. We've got lots of regrouping Plague Monks and such over here coming through, and there's not a whole lot to protect these skirmishers here. Of course, Orion still being here is a big benefit to the Wood Elves. He's going to start to throw some of his armor-piercing spears into this bell here. There we go. Ooh, swing and a miss, but if he does connect on those shots, it'll do quite a bit of damage. Meanwhile, the Tree Man's able to kind of hold back this regrouping Skaven force from the side here. Very nice use of the Tree Man in this particular matchup. You know, not a unit that I would maybe expect to bring here, but I see definitely the benefit of having them. A nice Warp Lightning Cannon going down. Looks like almost directly on top of Orion. Did manage to rout off those Deepwood Scouts, but also the Rat Ogres got terrified there. And yeah, the terror just in general becoming a big issue for the Skaven, and the balance of power at this point seems a little bit deceptive. It's mostly because the Warp Lightning Cannons still have quite a bit of power left, but in all honesty, as long as Orion doesn't get killed here, and there's really no unit... oh man, the friendly fire. Oh, the friendly fire. There's really no unit here that can deliver a strong enough blow to finish Orion off. When he has that Cloak of Isha up, the only thing that can really finish him off is like a unit with a really high weapon strength. He does get bowled over there by the cart, but the cart doesn't have the most weapon strength. Even those shots from the Warp Lightning Cannons, unless like both units connect all 3 shots at the same time, basically, it's going to be really hard to get him down below even like 800, 900 HP just because of that Cloak of Isha. So yeah, Orion should be able to provide a nice anchoring here, and the Tree Men, again, providing the terror, making sure a lot of those units don't come back from rout, and the hits that Orion gets on this Gracie are going to be pretty brutal. Looks like Orion is getting pretty low at this point, so it looks like a few connected shots in sequence there to get him down to about 600, but the Tree Man coming in, helping to screen out there, and it does look like the War Dancers and the Spellsinger pushed all the way around in the back line, and finally able to start shutting down these Warp Lightning Cannons, which definitely needed to happen sooner, but better late than never, I suppose, certainly. Orion, meanwhile, pushing through. He's still got that Cloak of Isha up, still regenerating. Horn of the Wild Hunt active, giving everyone some extra speed and charge. But at this point, the balance of power is coming back to even as those Warp Lightning Cannons get routed off, as the Skaven leadership starts to take more damage. It's going to be bad. Here comes Orion for freedom, spear out, you know, charging straight in here, and might even throw a spear or two into the back of this this cart. But yeah, the Warp Lightning Cannons getting shut down. It's like one more Warp Lightning itself going to be potentially dropped here, but the Terror... the Graciers on the bells are not immune to psychology. They do cause fear, but they don't cause terror, and they're not immune to psychology, so Orion could potentially terrify away this guy here, but it looks like instead he's just choosing to throw some spears here. This Skaven looks like he's going to try and scorch him potentially, but oh man, look at Orion's spear like sticking out of the side of that cart. That's pretty hilarious. But yeah, Skaven leader gets routed off there, and that is pretty much it for the Ratmen. So very well played to both players. Thanks for sending that one in, Attic. And yeah, super fun battle to watch. Very nice kind of comeback there. Just shows the power of that Cloak of Isha. Being able to keep Orion around and give him the survivability that he really lacks, to be honest, for such an expensive character. That Cloak of Isha is very, very key at keeping him alive, and in a late game situation like that can help you hold out, especially for a faction that's weak to terror like the Skaven. Can provide you a very, very nice way to finish games. The Tree Men, of course, racking up 106 kills, being very, very key there as well. The front line just doing decently in general. I mean, you'd expect a lot of kill totals against Skaven, but the Wild Riders were the one point I think that could have been a little bit better. Again, if they had forced that first engagement with the Horn of the Wild Hunt just immediately, they could have easily taken out that unit of Rat Ogres. These guys have a great charge bonus, great weapon strength, good combat stats, and they could have singled out the Rat Ogre there away from the Skaven army and just taken him down very quickly. Yeah, it's hard to say in the heat of the battle. You know, sometimes those decisions can be tough to make right in the spot of it. So, you know, I definitely understand. But just for future reference, that sort of engagement would go very well for the Wood Elves. For the Skaven, the Warp Lightning Cannons were definitely MVPs here. Able to fire in, you know, with impunity almost the entire match there. Unfortunately, not quite enough. There wasn't anything in particular that could finish off Orion, and I think that's going to be an issue here, is that, you know, most people don't game plan to be able to finish off a very strong, large target like that. You know, like a Hell Pit Abomination, or I'm trying to think of what other targets the Skaven could have. I mean, I guess you could try and just work him down to his healing cap, but that doesn't necessarily seem ideal. Anyway, yeah, in terms of the rest of the Skaven build here, Storm Vermin doing reasonably well, the Plague Monk's doing reasonably well. Yeah, 41 kills for the Gracier, not bad. He was very nice, did a very nice job dropping those Warp Lightnings everywhere. But yeah, overall, Orion just too strong for the Skaven to be able to cope with in the late game. So very fun battle. Hope you guys enjoyed watching. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button so every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you next time.